Let's not kid ourselves. Shadow Force is a Temu Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's not good. I knew from the title this movie wasn't going to be good. Shadow Force, really? This wouldn't even be a working title in the 80s. However, I get the purpose of bringing this movie to the big screen because you'd have to go back probably blaxploitation era to see predominantly black cast in this type of action thriller. And it makes sense on paper. You got Kerry Washington, who is highly popular. You got Omar Sy coming off a successful run on Netflix's Lupin. You got Method Man coming off a successful run on Power Book on Starz. And he's the Wu Chow in Wu-Tang. Like, let's keep it a buck. And Devondra Randolph coming off of her Oscar win. Now, it also stars Mark Strong and Jaleel Camera. But the story... We've seen this story play out 1,000 times, especially in the 80s and the 90s. Basically, Kerry Washington and Omar Sy are married. They weren't supposed to be in a relationship. They have a baby. And since this is against the rules in their Shadow Force, they got to go on the run. Omar Sy, he's going to raise their son in plain sight, but kind of under the radar in abject squalor. And Kerry Washington, she'll watch them from afar to make sure they're protected. Well, one day, Omar Sy foils this bank robbery, but he's caught on surveillance and his cover is blown. So now they really got to go on the run, but there's $100 million bounty on their head. Like, stop me if you have seen this before, right? Listen, is this a streaming movie? 100%. But I get why it was so important to them to bring it to the big screen. This is a predominantly black cast in an action thriller, and that's rarely seen on the big screen. So I get why it was important to them. But this movie only made about $3 million at the domestic box office because it's not good. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a couple of scenes that I really dug. One where there were like fireworks and this smoky backdrop. It was a shootout. And then the last 15 minutes was like this shootout at a wedding in Colombia. Those were really cute, but you are forced to sit through the rest of it. There are so many scenes that don't move the story in any significant way. They were just scene fillers to prolong the runtime. And the editing of the stunts were nauseating. Did he use a shaky cam? I don't know. It was really difficult to watch that on a really big screen. There were a lot of scene dumps and story dumping, and exposition is heavily relied, I'll say, on Jaleel's character. They tell the story to him. And so I think it would have been better to just give him the whole story. It might have been refreshing to just see it through his eyes, kind of like The Professional. And maybe that wouldn't have worked, but none of this works anyway. I hate to dump on it, but I want to be honest. It's not good. At any rate, Shadow Force is in theaters now.